So they go in and maybe, you know, they'd go away for a couple of weeks or whatever, but there was one lad who was about 16, full of bullets, like, you know, very fit from playing football, and he arrived in the Skibbereen, found out why everybody left, and he left himself, and he went on in to Bandon town, and then he came back across towards Kilmichael, which is a very dangerous corner, and then he went on, of course, to Ballinlaw, which is deadly as well, and he was going up, I suppose, to the main road, the main Cork-Kerry road. He got onto Macroom, and he was going on to Dingle, which is out here on the big toe on the right foot, and the most westerly point of Europe. And there he was hitchhiking. It was a beautiful sunny afternoon. This is in the early 90s now, when the EU were giving us ferocious money for tarmac and cocaine. And there was fresh tarmac laid down in front of him. It was a beautiful hot day. It must have been 70 degrees. He was sweating. And he had the thumb out, of course, around the other side of the road. And there he was by the old triangle, if you know it, where the road kind of veers off to Mid Street or towards Ballyforman. And there he was, and a beautiful black Mercedes-Benz. And 5 minutes later, pressed on the brakes, fresh chips of tar were flying into the air, and the boy ran up, opened the door, says, "I'm going to Dingle." The driver says, "Will Tralee be enough?" To be grand, he says. Tralee is where the 2 feet kind of separate. And so they were driving along grand, and it was a beautiful car. Lord God, it was beautiful. But what was more exotic, Marion, was the driver himself, who was wearing a black suit, a white shirt with a black tie and a black peaked cap. He was the statesman's driver. He was the driver for Dick Spring, who was living in Tralee at the time. And Dick Spring was our Taoiseach, which is kind of like your Speaker of the House, I suppose, is that right? And, you know, he was with the Labour Party at the time. And he was bringing him up to Dáil, which is here in Dublin, the back of course, during the good days when we didn't know what to do with money, for we were destined to be poor ever, and anytime we get money we squander it. There was a minister for the arts who drove from Carside down here to the airport just here, and his driver then would have to drive up to the airport as he flew in a helicopter. And his driver would drive up and collect it and bring it to Dáil. Think about it. And so, anyway, they were driving along there, it was very hot, and the boy started to open his top collar, and he started to look down at the door, and he said to the driver, he says, "Excuse me, driver, would you pass over the winder?" What? Would you pass over the winder? Just feels hot. No, says the driver. It is all automatic. Oh, I see, says the boy. How do you mean it is automatic? Right, well, what, says the driver. You press a button here, and the window went down, and you put it back, and the window came up. Lord God, says the boy, that's fantastic. God, that's absolutely fantastic. And he was playing with it for a while. And the conversation dried up, and he turned to the driver, and he says, "Excuse me, driver," he says, "I've been driving for a number of years myself, but I see you're stuck in first gear always." "What?" says the driver. "I said, you haven't changed gear since we left Macroom. You're stuck in first gear." No, says the driver. "It's all automatic." "Oh, I see, says the boy. "How do you mean it's automatic?" "Well," he says, "I put it into D there, as for drive, and I press the accelerator, the engine changes gear by itself, and I press the brake, and the engine brings down itself when I press the brake." "God," said the boy, "that's fantastic. God, that's fantastic. That'd be great going up Tape Hill, for I'd always lose it in second gear going up to Massive someday. Lord God, how do I get a car like this?" And the driver went on to tell him about the sunroof. Well, it moved open, and when it closed, and when you turned on the radio, and then air went up in the back and down again. And he showed him air conditioning. Air conditioning, he never heard of the likes of it. Lord God Almighty, show him all the different things. There was a lumbar in the seat. Never heard of a lumbar. Things and buttons that would move your seat forward and back. He thought he was in a spaceship. Time went on anyway, and they passed the Toy Soldier factory, and they were just coming to the very windy road there after the Kilnamartyr Cross. Do you know the road, Larry, just before you get into Ballyforman? And it is very windy, but since time the EU gave us money and they made it wider, but they kept the windiness, you know, before it's wide. But they were driving along, it was very narrow at that time, and the boy says, "Excuse me, driver, what what's that circular thing on the top of the bonnet, or as you might say, on the top of the hood, out the front there? What's that circular silver thing? Normally the driver looked at him and he thought he'd have a bit of a laugh off the young boy, you know. And he says, "Do you know what that is now? That's my sight." "I see," Fred says the boy. "How do you mean 'tis your sight?" "Well," said the driver, "I, as I told you, am the driver for Dick Spring the Taoiseach, and I can't be late. And be dad, if there's devil of a cyclist on the roads these days, I have full effect of the law to bump them clean off the road. So if I put my tyre right on the side, I have special reinforced bull bars you might have seen at the front of the car with metallic paint that won't scratch, they'd fly into the dike, I can't be called for it, and I'll never be late." "God," said the boy, "that's fantastic. God, that's fantastic altogether. Where can I get a sight like that? God almighty, that's fantastic." Well, as luck would have it, wasn't the boat entering a skiddy, and all the French were cycling along the roads of the south of Ireland. You know, by their yellow backpacks as they sway over and back along the road. And there was the cyclist at the very narrow bend now swaying, and the driver said, "I'm sorry now, boy, I hope you're not too squeamish, but after picking you up, I'm a small bit tardy, so I'll have to blow this fella into the dike. And there's a big drop there, I don't think he'll make it." "Go on," said the boy, go on, here we go." Well, they put the boot on, and he put the sight right on the tire of the back wheel. And at the last minute, of course, the driver pulled off, and next thing there was a bang! The car stopped all of a sudden, more chips of tar were flying into the air. Sweat hopped off the driver's face. What was that horrible noise at all? His hat came off clean from him, and he looked at the boy with a white face and said, What was that noise at all?" And the boy said, "Aha," he said, "I knew by the way you were driving you were going to miss him, so I got him at the door."